you who aren't familiar, Reasoning Mind, we are a nonprofit based here in Texas. Our main office is in Houston, but me and my coworkers here in Dallas are based just up the road off Cruz Haven. We are a company that has produced a completely online math curriculum for elementary ed that gets your students ready for algebra so that once they get to high school and move on towards college, they'll be ready to be as successful as they can once they get to those higher level mathematical concepts. This is something that they have access to 24/7 from anywhere that they have an internet connection. So if you do not have a desktop computer at home, or if you have more than one student who needs access, and say have access to tablets of any kind, please let me know before you leave, and I can give you my information so we can get you the links for the apps for those various platforms. Or if you have any other questions by the end that you don't feel have been answered, please come talk to me before I leave, and that way I can answer any questions. So, let's start off with why. Over the past couple of decades, the United States has placed significantly lower than almost every other industrialized country in mathematical literacy for school-aged children. Out of 65 countries, the United States is 32nd on the International Mathematical Literacy Test, and this is a problem because we want the United States to continue to be a successful, both intellectually, industrially, successful country, and a lot of this has to do with basic math literacy and science literacy. And the reason why we built Reasoning Mind is because we have found that algebra is the key to those higher level mathematical and scientific concepts. Without algebra literacy, students are significantly less likely to graduate from high school and even more significantly less likely to get into college. So, what does that mean for you guys? Reasoning Mind's solution to this was to build a focused, world-class curriculum that allows your student to have differentiated learning based on their own personal needs and their own personal understandings, and helping to go back and reevaluate what they may have been missing and helping them build up that mathematical literacy early on. This is done through the curriculum itself, the involvement of the teachers, who are there to help those students who need that extra attention, while those who don't are able to work at their own pace and work through the curriculum on their own, through having an engaging system that keeps students on task at least 95% of the time. We do this for 2nd through 6th grade, and we're adding more grades above that. We do this based on the most historically successful mathematics curriculum. All of the top performing countries in the International Mathematical Literacy Test are either directly based on or are the curriculum that our system is based on. We also have an engaging student interface meant to get the kids involved and be intrinsically motivated to want to learn and work through the math, as well as allowing teachers to use data taken from the system to more quickly and efficiently meet your students' needs. So, our approach focuses on 3 separate pieces: the teachers, the students, and the system. For the students, they get to sit at their own computer, work along at their own pace, and enjoy the environment both through the guided study, which introduces new material to them and test them on the material, but also through more kind of fun, less stressful modes. This is what Art City will look like for your students. While in their classroom, they'll be spending most of their time in guided study. This will be where they'll get introduced to that new material like they would in a traditional classroom. It'll also provide them with problems and also trying to diagnose any misunderstandings they have and fill in those gaps for them. For your students, when you are working with them at home on this, they can either go through guided study if you're there to kind of help them with any misunderstandings they may have had, or work through that with them, or they can go into some of the other modes that we have, including Wall of Mastery, where they'll be able to just work on problems that they've already seen and learn to master those skills that they've already had a chance at, as well as some more fun modes, such as our shopping mall, our game room, and our mind place. This is what a problem will look like for your students. This is where they'll be able to see their own name, whatever points they may have earned through working through the problem, their position in the particular objective they're working on, and work through different types of problems in a particular objective. They also have the option to use hints, which will give them a little bit more of a look at maybe something they may have missed, a piece of misunderstanding that they may have had, but this will allow them to try to work through it without having it completely explained to them by you or their teacher. We also have what we call Genie solutions. The Genie is the mascot for Reasoning Mind, and the Genie will present them with how to solve a particular problem, whether or not they got that problem correct. And this allows them to see why they may have gotten the problem wrong, but also how they can solve it with, if they want to get it right. The Genie solutions are an integral part of this because it teaches the children to work back through what their misunderstanding was so that they can then work forward again through the correct ways to solve those problems. Another part of the RM experience is the teacher. The teacher is not absent during the student's Reasoning Mind time. The teacher is using the data that we have in our system collected from your students to better access which of those students they need to give that extra attention on and how best to diagnose what the students' misunderstandings may be. This allows them to go one-on-one with those students who need that extra one-on-one time, but allow those students who are working fine at their own pace to just continue to work through the curriculum and get exposed to more content. They also get special training and in-class support on this so that they can more effectively help your students. This is done through our teacher interface, which gives them access to all kinds of student data, including how your students have been doing on the objectives, certain behavioral metrics, and allows them to more quickly see at a glance how their students in their classes are doing without having to constantly check in with all of their students and do a lot of the kind of classroom management stuff that are more that you have in a more traditional classroom. The RM system itself is an artificially intelligence-based system that allows it to see what the student is doing, analyze whatever misunderstanding they have had, and then adjust the curriculum to your student's particular needs. This is done through recording the data of every single objective and all the content that they're working through, and analyzing their input to see if it can find what your student will need. And it automates much of the decision-making for the teacher so that the teachers can focus more on helping and individualizing your students' education, as opposed to having to constantly check in on all of those students and always having to work as hard to find what the students are missing. The system helps them, and so that the teachers can more effectively and more efficiently work with your students. So the nice thing about Reasoning Mind is that it meets the needs of all kinds of students. For those students who are gifted and talented, they're able to work quickly through the curriculum without needing to wait behind while other students are working through it, and they can work on it at their own pace. Quite often you'll have students who are able to get through beyond the regular curriculum for their school year. Some students will even get into the curriculum for the next year or beyond. For those students with special learning needs, there's audio components to it. We have special tools to help them work on their study skills. And it allows them to still work at their own pace without feeling that they are pulling the class behind or that they themselves are getting far behind, because they're working at their own pace and on what they need help. For those students who are who have English as a second language, we have a lot of different resources, both in the audio and also just general study resources for those students as well. So why Reasoning Mind for your students, though? In a study that we did back in 2011 and 2012 in Dallas, and this is specifically for second grade students, we found that the students who were able to get in the 2 hours that is expected a week in Reasoning Mind were able to go up over a grade and a half in their math literacy over the course of that year. This 2 hours is what they're going to be getting in mostly in their in-class time, but any extra time that you can get them outside of the classroom will just get them that much further ahead over the year. These are two example students based on some data that we had during that study. This particular student, Max, started at kind of like at the further end of a first grade level, and after spending 160 hours in the system over the course of the year, got up past a fourth grade level in math. This other student here was about halfway through what we would call the first grade curriculum, and after spending 72 hours, got about to halfway through a fourth grade math level. So, 5 steps to be successful with your reasoning as a reasoning mind parent. Since your student can access this anywhere they have an internet connection, you will want to let them access it if you can, and as much time as you're able to give them from home. You want to challenge them to work on it at home, maybe build some incentive systems at home for them if they're doing extra math work. You want to follow their progress, which is something that you can access just by opening up their student account. And once a week, try to spend at least an hour or so with your student if you can. You want to encourage them to work independently, though, because those independent learning skills that they'll get from working on their own, with just you occasionally checking in to see if they're doing fine, will make it a lot more, or will make it much more easy for them to succeed in the future with their other studying. Also encouraging them to have good study skills, such as taking notes and working through problems on paper, is a really great way to encourage their general study skills. With Reasoning Mind, we are working on building curriculum all the way up to 8th grade so that students will be able to do entirely within the system all the way up to Algebra 1 as a way of allowing your students to stay consistent within the system and constantly building upon what they have done in the past and building in the sequence and building upon their previous learning. That's Reasoning Mind for you. Ms. Rust was handing out a little sheet for you when you came in, so if you didn't get it, she's got some more. It's a quick little guide on how to get your students logged in from home. If you have any questions, I'm open to answering any now. Or if you want access to any of the apps for various devices, please come see me before you leave.
The student ID, they're getting that in class?
Yes, your students have their ID in their class. Their actual login is their just regular student ID number, and then they'll have a randomly generated password that they'll have.
If they've not been able to bring that home, how do we get that?
You want to talk to your student's teacher. They can
We
get that
have them
for you.
all.
Yeah, and we actually have little cards that we can print off with the students' login numbers and password on there for them, so they'll be able to take that home.
And what we've been doing this week is we have been showing the students how to log in, because they have a journal too that they have to keep track of. And that's where they write down their problems, corrections that need to be made, etc. And so we've been practicing and modeling how that's going to look, how we want them to set it up, the organization of the journal, and it has their password and login information in there. So they have it. It's just, we're trying to show them before we send them off to you.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
The presentation was very helpful. Is there a way that we could have that posted somewhere, like on the second grade website?
I'll send it to Ms. Russ and she can post that. So, yeah. I'll edit the notes a little bit so it's not our side of it. It'll be more informative for you guys.
And you said there's a way to get it for Android devices and...
Yeah, come see me before you leave and I'll get you guys that information. Any other questions?
That hour is soft?
no.
The hour is not
That
soft.
hour is not soft.
The hour is the hour.
As you all know, our technology is limited, very limited at Stonewall Jackson. So we actually have Surface tablets for second grade that they are using to log in to use the program. But, we have 25 tablets that they have to get this time in, with all the students and bilingual in third grade and the whole slew. So I wish there was more time in the day to do it, but, we go to garden and we have everything else that consumes so much time in the classroom, and we also have to teach, so go figure. So we do request that we get about an hour at home each week.
Is it second grade and then all the way up to emergency?
Currently, it's just second and third, correct?
In Dallas, second and third is district-wide. Some schools are doing fourth grade. Next year, we're not entirely sure which schools will be doing which grades, but at the moment, it is second and third grade district-wide.
Would it, I don't know if it would make sense, maybe choosing out like a math club, would it make sense, maybe third grade to start, pick a PC class?
Just because if anything happens to those tablets, and at that point, it's kind of out of our control, so, sorry.
No, I can get it. I got a little crazy sometimes. Back to that hard hour.
Yes.
I'm not, I'm just, I got a Monday to Monday, like what's your
So the way that it's tracked by the district is from Monday at 12:01 in the morning until 12 at night on Sunday. So as long as you're getting it in within that time frame, though, and it's consistent from week to week, it'll count still. So, and it keeps track of whatever time your student is doing, regardless of whether they're doing it at home, at school. It all counts towards that one time metric that they're tracking. And so to help the school, that's why it's the outside of the school time.
Does it stop them when they get to an hour? Or-
No.
No.
So what if they did 3 hours a week?
Perfect. That's
It
even
doesn't
better.
roll over.
No, it does not. No. So it's tracked on a week-to-week basis. Yeah. Yeah. It's being tracked from week to week. If you can get them 3 hours, that's great because that'll get them further into the curriculum and they'll see more content. So that's fantastic. But for the purposes of tracking it, it does not roll over from week to week.
Do we see how much they've done throughout the week? Okay, look, they did 20 minutes yesterday.
That's something that your student's teacher has access to. So if you're interested in seeing how much time they have, yeah.
And
So we
also,
won't know how much they've done?
It's all within the teacher's interface. So
So she just logs on and is doing it on her own, and I can know about it, then I won't know that she did 20 minutes.
extra time, yeah.
you
There's no.
set a timer. That's what most of our parents did last year. We just kind of set a timer right there, I know all the iPhones have them. Just set it there next to them, knock out 10 minutes one night, go from there. And also the accuracy, can you kind of explain that?
Yeah. So. So this is what part of the teacher's screen looks like. And you'll see here there's a bunch of different metrics. The most important one here is what we call the level A accuracy. Level A are those basic content competency accuracy. So those are, when they're in guided study, those are the basic problems they're working on. That is the other value that the district is tracking. This you can see though. If your student is logged in and they go to My Place, they will be able to see their accuracy for the week there. In Dallas, the expectation is 75% or above on that accuracy, and that's something you can easily see in there. But that is only for the A-level problems that are specifically being tracked for that. If you're in the wall of mastery with your students, they'll be able to work into the B and C level problems, which are those much more complex, both computationally and conceptually. And those are great because it allows your student to get those enrichment problems and maybe see content that they haven't already seen in guided study before, but kind of like teaching them to intuitively understand math that's beyond what they're normally seeing based on what they already have. And those are great to get them further ahead, at least content-wise. But what's actually being tracked are those A-level problems. And in the wall of mastery, you'll actually see the 3 specific columns for that. Once they've been introduced to something and they go through those A-level problems and they master those, they can then move on to the B-level problems.
So does it matter if they're doing, they have to be in a specific place within the system for the time to count, or does it
No.
matter if they're in games or?
So the stuff that they'll see in games is going to be more math fact based. And so if you have a student that needs help with just like those quick simple addition and subtraction problems, or if they've gotten far enough to where they need to work on basic multiplication, it's great. But really for them to improve their mathematical skills, wall of mastery and guided study are the places they'll want to spend their time.
So you suggest that when they start doing this, they start with guided study, is that right?
If you're there and able to help them with it, just kind of check in with them to see if they're having any misunderstandings. If you're not able to, you want to put them in Wall of Mastery, because Wall of Mastery is where they will only see problems that they've already had some sort of content introduced to them on, and it'll just let them practice those and gain that eventual mastery on those types of problems.
And how does it track, for example, if she goes and she does Wall of Mastery or guided study or whatever, and then the next week, or each time when she logs in, does it know what she's done and takes her to the next place?
Yeah, so in guided study, the content that they'll see there, very rarely a student will be able to do in a single session. They tend to be a little bit longer. Some of them are upwards of 5 hours that they'll work through over the course of a couple of sessions. And when they log back in, it'll just drop them right back where they were once they're done with that particular objective, if they've done well enough on it to move on to the next one, it will then move them there. If they haven't, it'll try to find what objective they need to go back to review and work back through and fix whatever misunderstanding they had, and then it'll move them right back. The system does all of that for you. In Wall of Mastery, anything that they've actually gone through and have done well enough on the A-level problems to have at least shown competency in those will then become available in the Wall of Mastery, and the higher level ones will not become available until they master the lower level ones in that objective. Does that make sense?
So they're getting graded on competency on the whole thing.
So the guided study is where that's actually being tracked from the district perspective. The Wall of Mastery is a way where they can, with much lower stakes, just work through those problems and gain that eventual mastery on those problems.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like, what if you said you have to be there to do the guided study with them? What if we never did guided study?
So that's what they'll definitely be doing guided study in the classroom, in their classroom time.
I
Yeah.
understand, okay.
Yeah.
So at home though, but you want to do that as well, but it doesn't matter for the district-wise.
It's tracking the time that they're logged in.
Okay, good.
Any other
I
questions?
guess if the teachers have a progress, where we should be looking, let us know.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
We're just like some guided study in class.
What is it that my son's teachers want so that I can do it?
Focus on the
correctly?
right thing.
You know,
I log in, where do you want me to go? Well,
The
that's
public
okay.
place.
where's the best place to go?
Well,
Can
and
you tell
I
us,
was
like,
explaining that to Malcolm State,
Yeah.
since we have not completed a whole objective in class, I was trying to show the students how to get into the Wall of Mastery, and there was nothing available because we haven't completed that. So we've got to get through some of those objectives before we can even get into the Wall of Mastery.
Gotcha.
Luckily, that first objective is about, I think it's about 3 hours for second grade. So they'll be done with that soon and then can start working through those problems.
So is there a way that, since we can't see how many hours they've got, and I've got 2, I've got to someone keep track of, is there a way that maybe like on Fridays, you could add in your behavior thing, we finish the 2 hours or whatever, so we get access to it, or?
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I could try, and I can say I can try, but I have 71 students, and to look at all those individual times, I mean, on Friday, you know what I mean?
Can you run a report that's by student ID, because then that's data that's masked, I'm not gonna see somebody else's time, right? But I know my daughter's student ID, can you post a report every Friday of the system?
Because of all the confidentiality stuff that's involved with working with the school district, we're not allowed to
But it's
publicly
a
make.
student ID.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
able
I
to make
guess.
that publicly available. Yeah.
Now, I can verbally tell the students, but just to be honest with you, sending out 71 emails, I'm not going to do it. And then go pick up a 1-year-old, I just can't, sorry, but I can let them know.
They do, yeah.
And say, okay, you got 20 more minutes, make sure you get it done for the weekend.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Especially if the
Even
students
saying-
have like a notebook that they can track that at home and they can check those numbers.
Gotta make sure that I write out, and they say that some was on, and it timed it, but I guess if it was on, I gotta make sure that that's that number. His son was logged in last night, and it timed it, but obviously the trick is you gotta check that before they log out of the system, to ensure that you're not gonna see it, you will see a time when they're logging in, so just tell them, just tell them don't log out until mom's checked the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
So do they start this
Next
now?
week.
Next week, okay.
Okay, so y'all are doing the classroom hour, we're doing home hour.
Yes.
Okay, so this requires to review one class.
Any other questions?
We'll get through it. We will. I promise.
Can you just give us, I've got an iPad that we tend to use more, I need to, I need to.
Yeah,
Is
so,
that okay, call for it?
oh, okay.
Yeah, our room moms will send it.
Okay, because before you guys leave, if you want, I have my cards here. So you can send me an email if you have any questions about how, because I'm not here just to help your students' teachers. I'm here to help your students. I want your students to do well in math, and I'm here to support you guys too. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you're unsure how best to use your students' time at home or where they need to go, you'll have my contact info. Also, if you want the app, send me an email. My email address is on here, and I can send you the link to get that. So I just need to know what particular platform you're using so I can send you the link specific to that.